New Year's is coming soon, and if you're like most people, you're going to make resolutions. So here's 4 that you might want to consider, but also how to keep them. The first resolution that you might consider making this year is one about prayer. To pray more often, whatever that would look like for you to kind of increase your frequency and duration and intensity in your prayer. Now, when I was in high school, one of my Bible teachers taught about praying without ceasing. And I guess I'd heard that verse before, but it kind of clicked with me because he told me not just how to pray without ceasing, but he showed me literally how. And so let me share that with you. He told us in that class that all we needed to do was pray in the in-between times. And so one thing that I like to do is whenever I'm going from place to place, whether that's from the kitchen to the living room, or whether that's from my house to the church, or anywhere else that I'm going, those are in-between times. And if you take those in-between times and you pray during them, you're gonna start to have an attitude of prayer. Now, of course, the first few times it's gonna be really conscious and you're gonna have to focus on it. But after a while, you're gonna start to just pray without thinking about it. And you'll have a mindset of prayer, an attitude of prayer, and then eventually you'll find that you start praying without ceasing. Eventually, the minutes of prayer are going to multiply. The busier your life gets, the more you have to travel to pick up the kids from school, the more you have to go to work. All of those are in between times, and the busier your life gets, the more you'll end up praying. It's one of the only ways to make that happen. So that's my advice for prayer. The second resolution that you might be thinking about or might want to make is one centered around Bible reading. Let me show you a way that I've learned to keep Bible reading. Now, lots of people are going to tell you, if you were to Google it, how do I stick with my Bible reading? You're going to find websites that tell you to set a reminder on your phone, schedule it in the calendar, put your phone in another room, and all of them work. Don't get me wrong, but that's not what my advice is today. When you do those things, you're gonna find a way to get the time to read. But that might only help you once or twice, because if you're like me, when the Duolingo owl pops up on my phone, I just swipe away the notification and forget about him, and then he comes and haunts me. But if you don't wanna forget about the notifications, if you want to actually spend the time and make it a priority, the best way to do that, really the best way to do anything that's hard, is to enjoy it. And so if you're gonna enjoy Bible study, the best tip that I have for you is to learn to study as if you're going to teach. There's a man in the 1900s named Dr. Richard Feynman. He's very smart, and he had this idea that if you can't teach a complex idea to a child, then you don't truly understand it. When you study as if you're going to teach, then you start to learn more, you start to comprehend it more, and you use your mind to think through, how would I say this to someone else? The best way to get something out of Bible study is to learn to study as if you're going to teach. Whether you actually teach or not doesn't matter. When you learn better, you're going to enjoy Bible study. When you enjoy Bible study, you're probably going to stick with it better than if you didn't. Number 3, another resolution you might be considering is giving. And if your pastor doesn't have a Bugatti and a private jet, then you're doing it wrong. Just kidding. But here's my tip. If you're going to give this year, and if you're going to give cheerfully, the easiest way to do it is to not have to worry about it. Don't think about it. You can go to most churches' websites and you just plug in your bank information. It takes you probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you can't find the numbers, and then you're done. Like, you literally just set it up one time, and the rest of your life, you never have to think about it. So make it easier on yourself. Don't be a frustrated giver, be a cheerful giver. Set up recurring gifts, and you're not gonna have to think about it anymore. Number 4, a lot of people might be thinking about their person-to-person relationships. Every couple of years, I would go up to Pennsylvania to my dad's side of the family for Christmas. And every couple of years, that side of the family would have a family reunion at Christmas. I would be faced with this terrible experience of having to talk to a bunch of people who apparently know me that I do not know, who all know my dad that I do not know, and who all have stories about people that I do not know. And so I was left at this family reunion just feeling awkward and confused and stuck. And so typically what I and the other cousins would do is run to the basement, and usually some other cousin that I have no idea where they came from would also follow us into the basement, and we would play hide and seek in the dark. Super fun. Not. So if you don't want to feel like me at an awkward family reunion when you're trying to witness to somebody or trying to invite them to church, then here's a strategy for you. What I would do is pull out your phone, open the texting app, and just give them a text or give them a call if that's more your thing, and just say, hey, I've been thinking about you, what can I pray for? Super simple, very short, leaves it open-ended, and you don't have to write more. Like, just literally leave it at those 2 sentences. Been thinking about you, what can I pray for you about? Now, the goal here is to respond like a human. If you text them like a human, you're gonna get responses back like a human. Again, you can do this on a phone call or whatever, but just get that first piece of the conversation out of the way. It makes everything so much smoother. Eventually, you can get around to asking them a question about if they're able to go to church, or invite them to a program that you have going on or something like that. And that can turn into the first real step, tangible step, of getting them into church or getting them into a conversation about salvation. It just takes a little bit of time, but the first step is always the hardest, and that's why we're gonna send simple, short, sweet text. I have 2 little bonus ones for you, by the way. This is how to keep all of your resolutions, because my guess is you're not just making spiritual resolutions, you probably have other ones. A lot of people go for weight loss, a lot of people start their diets January 1st, and they get into this world where like everything changes. Awesome, keep doing it. Let me show you 2 ways that you can stick with it. Number 1 is to make the action the goal, not the outcome. If you make the action your goal, instead of the outcome of that action, you'll be a lot happier as a person. For instance, if my goal is every time I go out on visitation or every time I preach a sermon for someone to get saved, then I'm probably gonna be disappointed more Sundays or more visitations or more door knocks than I am happy, because my goal is the wrong goal. However, if my goal is to do what I'm supposed to do, as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, then I'm good, I'm happy. So make the action your goal, not the outcome. If your goal is weight loss, your goal might be, in your mind, it might be, I want to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds. Cool, that's the outcome. But what actions does it take to get that outcome? Well, it takes controlling your calories. It takes going to the gym. It takes muscle building workouts. It might take a little bit of cardio. All of these things are actions that lead to the goal. So focus on the action and your life is going to be much more happy. Number 2, the second little bonus tip that I have for you is to act like a rookie. When I was 15, my family decided to hike the Grand Canyon. They decided not just to hike the Grand Canyon, but to go up and down in one day. And the only person that you can find doing that on YouTube is an Olympian or like NBA players. So if you're not already a professional athlete, don't try to do professional athlete things. And my 1-day trip turned into a 3-day trip because we are not professional athletes. My mom almost died. I thought she did at one point. My brother was like a kid. He was probably 10 or 11. I was just out of 7th or 8th grade, and my dad had to bear the weight of all of us. Like, it was not an easy trip because it wasn't supposed to be. We were trying to do something that a veteran could do, that a pro could do at a rookie level. And because of that, it ended up blowing up in our faces. It's one of our favorite stories to tell, but it's definitely not one without pain. It's not one that was easy for us. So if you don't want to have a Grand Canyon experience in your New Year's resolutions, don't try to shoot for the Grand Canyon. Try to shoot for a part of the hike. Try to be equipped for the little pieces of the bigger goal. And when you do that, you're not going to overwhelm yourself, you're not going to fail, and you're not going to feel bad if you mess up a little bit here or a little bit there, because it's really not that much to come back from. If you don't come back from a huge goal, it feels like a big loss. But if you miss a little bit here or there and the goal's this big, it's much easier to make up for. So that's my advice for you. Don't act like a veteran if you're not one, act like a rookie. So hope that helped you like it's helped me, and I'll see you next time.